when I hear the drill of the doorbell. I bang through to the living room and nearly fall over Paul, who for some reason is sleeping on the floor, right beside the couch. As I open the door, I look behind me and check we closed the wall, and when I look back, I see two massive cops. They're plain clothes, CID or what have you. The older one has those watery eyes some older Scottish guys have, like he's about to start greeting. In front of him is a man with a side parting who looks like an enormous schoolboy. "Mr. Francis Boyle?" he asks, but it's not really a question. "All right if we come in." All the grass is through in the stateroom. I can see it in my mind's eye. It's on the big tarpaulin I put down so we wouldn't get burns on the carpet. "Paul, we have visitors," I shout, and he leaps up startled, literally springs up like he's part of an ambush, then sits down suddenly on the couch, internalizing a massive spasm of guilt. The two cops are making a show of looking about, like explorers in a bad movie. I make them a cup of tea, and we all sit down round the tiny kitchen table, while Paul sits rigidly in the other room, too paranoid to leave. I expect some kind of introduction, but there is none. "This is a fairly unusual matter," the younger one starts happily. "I believe you know the TV presenter, Dom Jolly." I try to shrug, but the mug I'm holding is too full, so it comes over like a twitch. Not really. I met him a couple of times doing panel shows. We did a couple of panel shows together." "Panel shows," agrees the older one, mournfully, his eyes filling right up like tears are going to start rolling down his face. "Mr. Jolly was the subject of a serious sexual assault over the weekend," chirps the other guy. I don't really register what he says at first. I'm aware that I'm not really saying anything, and I start to feel uneasy. "Dom Jolly?" I ask foolishly. They don't acknowledge this in any way, so I say, "Sexually assaulted?" And then there's a long pause. "Dom Jolly has been sexually assaulted," the old policeman confirms sadly. "Dom Jolly, from Trigger Happy TV." "God, I'm sorry to hear that," I say, trying for a concerned-looking tone. I actually feel nothing or, if possible, less than nothing. "He's a big guy," I add, puzzledly. "It's believed Mr. Jolly was drugged, although we are still looking for a physically powerful attacker," Side Parting confides, excitedly. "That's terrible." I look blankly at the digestive beside my cup that would now be inappropriate to dunk. "Someone drugged his drink, or—" "They somehow got the drug into food served in his dressing room," he explains. "A chicken Kiev," Watery Eyes announces. I feel a rising, horrified excitement, the sort you feel when somebody dies. "Am I a suspect?" They both laugh. No, Mr. Boyle." They beam silently at me for a bit. "You are on a list of, celebrities we're contacting, in case they may be in danger." "Danger? In danger of being sexually assaulted." The old guy nods vigorously. "Of being subjected to the same kind of sexual assault as Mr. Jolly. There have been other incidents like this involving other, celebrities. The suspicion is that this guy has been operating for several years, attacking people who have been famous but then slip below a certain level of public recognition," his partner explains, inexplicably ending by smacking his fist into his open palm. I hold my tea in both hands like I'm nursing a scotch. I try to think of a polite way of asking, then blurt out, "Who? Who else has he raped?" The old boy flips open a notebook. "A lot of the presenters from the 11 o'clock show, Tony Slattery, Steve Punt, Sam Fox, Michael Greco, all three of the ladies from Smack the Pony, Frank Sidebottom before he died. We can't really name people." "This has been going on for a while." "It seems to be getting more active. He seems to be focusing his anger on comedy." "Everybody does," I smile. As I show them out, Paul gets up halfway as some sort of farewell and ends up looking like a curtsy. They both shake my hand warmly and, as the younger cop heads out, the old guy grips me by the arm, and forces something into my hand. He fixes me with the liquid eyes of a dying spaniel and leaves without a word. Half an hour later, Paul and I are still smoking a joint on the couch, passing the picture back and forth. It's a dressing room. I reckon it's an ITV dressing room at LWT. In the foreground, you can see part of a guy lying on the floor, his trousers off, and a huge arse exposed. Is this Dom Joly? Is he fucking dead? Why would they take a photo while he was still unconscious? Did the rapist take it? On the wall is the real focus of the piece. Written in blood, presumably we agree Dom Joly's arse blood, is a slogan in block capitals. Show business has no bottom. Abu Ghraib was not simply a case of American arrogance towards a third world people in being submitted to humiliating tortures. The Iraqi prisoners were effectively initiated into American culture. They were given a taste of its obscene underside, which forms a necessary supplement to the public values of personal dignity, democracy, and freedom. Bush was thus wrong. What we are getting when we see the photos of the humiliated Iraqi prisoners on our screens and front pages is precisely a direct insight into American values, into the very core of the obscene enjoyment that sustains the US way of life. Slavoj Žižek. Violence. Chapter 1. It's interesting that war is the ultimate in reality television, and yet the British public couldn't be less interested. Remember when they used to have to persuade the country to go to war, fake up a dossier? Remember when they even used to announce a war? Now it's just, hey, we're bombing Libya. Soon, they won't even bother with that, and we'll only find out who we're fighting when our friends send us a postcard saying that their hotel buffet just got destroyed by a pilotless attack drone, or when we accidentally read a tweet that Liam Fox has sent to Fern Cotton. Of course, war to us seems so brutal, so unnecessary. That's because we don't own shares in arms companies. Those guys live in palatial penthouses full of shrunken heads and wank to the news. Still, we are members of our society, so we are complicit in what it does. Look at it this way. Personally, I think we should have much more open immigration arrangements. We should treat asylum seekers fairly. We shouldn't imprison them, and we particularly shouldn't imprison their children. Perhaps I can hold that view because I live in a country that does the opposite. Because I have the security of knowing that it won't happen. It's the same with war. We might say, not in my name, but it is in our name, and with our taxes. We are told we fight consequence-free wars. Drone missions are targeted killings of people who have never stood trial. Your judge is this flying bomb. Your sentence is kaboom. We drop bombs from miles up in the sky and say they are surgical strikes, ignoring the fact that there is no way to safely drop high explosives into urban areas, that surgeons don't, for good reasons, ever use explosives. In the UK, as bailiffs cleared out protesters at the peace camp outside Parliament, one was filmed stamping on a protester. And with that one vicious act of violence, the area was officially no longer a peace camp, and just another London park. The area is now going to be used as a holding pen for Boris Johnson's mistresses. I never understood why men go to war. Then I thought, men have children. The average length of a war is 4 or 5 years, which is also the amount of time it takes for a child to stop being really fucking annoying. Men are saying to themselves, do I want to be here, listening to this wee guy scream because I've cut his toast into triangles instead of squares? No, I'll go join the army. I'll send him a Christmas video message when I'm beheaded on YouTube, screaming, how do you want my head cut off then? In triangles or in fucking squares? Reading about Help for Heroes, I think it's sad that that's left to charity. Give it a couple of years, and we'll be getting hassled in the high street to adopt a para for £5 a month. There was a story that a legless war hero couldn't get into a charity ball when he was guest of honour, because it had no disabled access. Organisers apologised for the mix-up and invited him to have tea with the Queen on a bouncy castle at the top of Blackpool Tower. How could we treat a man who lost so much for this country like that? Well, We sent him into an unnecessary war with inferior equipment and a breathtaking ignorance of historical precedent. So it's probably pretty easy. I really don't understand the no-fly zone in Libya. How can we designate a no-fly zone and then whiz about in our planes? It has all the logic of a parent at McDonald's telling their kids they're embarrassing them. Presumably the reason coalition forces have been blowing up tanks and buildings is because they're worried they might take to the skies like migrating geese. Instead of a no-fly zone, Cameron should just parachute in whoever was running Britain's transport network last winter. British typhoons reduced some schools and hospitals to barely function messes. Not in Libya. Over here, at a cost of £90 million each, they're bound to have. William Hague said that Britain will stop bombing Libya when Gaddafi stops killing his own people. They've managed to turn a war into something akin to a loved-up couple not wanting to hang up on the phone first. No, you stop shooting first. No, you stop bombing first. No, you stop shooting first. Hello? Hello? Are you still shooting? Yeah. Oh, you! Okay, let's both stop killing together. 3, 2, 1. Are you still bombing? Yeah. The debate is whether the war is legal. It has brought pain, misery, and desperation to hundreds of thousands of people. Does that sound legal to you? To me it sounds like the dictionary definition of the legal profession. Tony Blair phoned Gaddafi twice to urge him to stand down. Apparently the delusional lunatic rambled on for hours about not being a war criminal, before Gaddafi managed to get a word in. Haig confirmed that Britain is supplying the rebels with mobile phones. That's incredibly useful. It seems that they've been texting us in, "We're dying! Send guns, please!" I hope we sent them iPhones. There's a wonderful app for finding your legs in a bomb crater. People may be wondering where Britain is getting all these free mobile phones that we are handing to the young radical Muslims in Libya. They're mainly confiscated from the young radical Muslims that we put in Belmarsh. An American fighter plane crashed in a field near Benghazi. If you ask me, that was enforcing a no-fly zone a bit too strictly. What a laugh it would have been if we had landed on the house of Lockerbie bomber Al Megrahi. Not that he'd have been in. He spends most afternoons water skiing. The Scottish Parliament still argue they did stringent checks that Al Megrahi definitely had a note from his mum asking for him to be excused from prison. The claim is that it was the Scottish Parliament acting compassionately. Scottish and compassionate. Those words go together about as well as premiership and consensual. BP lobbied over the Libyan prisoner transfer scheme. If you're one of those people who stick your finger in their ears and sing to themselves that Britain's foreign policy is nothing to do with oil, that must be quite difficult to explain. It seems like the two have nothing in common. It's like finding out that the manufacturers of Link shower gel have been demanding the release of Peter Sutcliffe. The RAF pilots who flew in a rescue mission to Libya used maps printed straight from Google. Why bother? When I need a map of Libya, I use a sheet of sandpaper. Apparently, we've been dropping in troops as advisors. It's all perfectly fine under international law, so long as when they shoot someone they say, "I advise you to die." The public doesn't seem to be behind the war in Libya. To engage them, maybe we should tally up the number of civilian casualties and use them as the numbers for the Euro millions. You'll have Jenny Falconer in a morgue as Graham, the voice of the dead, reads the results. 6, 22, 11, 4, 9, and because last night we'd had a primary school, 40. David Cameron said he undertook military action because it's not acceptable to have a situation where Colonel Gaddafi can be murdering his own people using